Imagine the Red Sea. Turquoise waves crash against rocky shores. Fishermen return from their early morning catch, and on the horizon the lights of ships shimmer as they head toward the Suez Canal. This is one of the most important maritime crossroads on the planet. Nearly 10% of global trade flows through here. And right here, on the water, Saudi Arabia plans to build something the world has never seen. Oxagon, a floating industrial city shaped like a colossal octagon. At first glance, it sounds like the dream of a sci-fi engineer. Factories rising on the waves, a port unloading mega container ships in hours, laboratories working on artificial intelligence, new medicines and renewable energy, all surrounded by the crystal water of the Red Sea. Saudis say, this will be the world's largest floating structure, industry that is clean and intelligent. Critics respond, there is no such thing as clean industry, it's an oxymoron. Why then is Oxagon so important? Because NEOM is not just a place to live. It is an economic machine meant to free Saudi Arabia from its dependency on oil. If the line symbolizes everyday life, Oxagon symbolizes work and trade. This is where factories of the future, logistics centers and innovation hubs are supposed to rise. This is where Saudi Arabia wants to prove that it can do more than sell oil, that it can build technology. But the project hides a paradox. A floating city means costs, risks, and a question about people. Who will work there? Will experts from around the world agree to live on an artificial platform? Will South Asian laborers once again form the invisible backbone beneath grand slogans? Or will Oxagon become a ghost city, a beautiful visualization that never escapes the glossy folders? Abdul Rahman sees it as the future. Imagine a port where everything works like clockwork. Goods arrive, factories process them, products leave. It'll be Silicon Valley on water. Aisha asks the question hanging above the entire project. But what about the sea? Are we turning it into an industrial bay? Can we really merge industry and ecology? Oxagon is the industrial heart of NEOM, but also its toughest test. Because while the line can be sold as a vision of daily life, a floating factory is hard economics, and economics does not forgive mistakes. And this is where our next story begins. With an octagon on the water that is meant to be not only a port and a factory, but a symbol of a new Saudi Arabia. Oxagon is not meant to be a place to live in the classical sense. It is not the line with vertical gardens and family apartments. Oxagon is above all a factory and a port built on the sea. A gigantic platform shaped like an octagon, where life is subordinated to work. Imagine a morning in Oxagon. You wake not in an apartment overlooking a garden, but in a cabin floating on the Red Sea. Outside your window, you don't see streets. You see container vessels docking at terminals. Instead of birdsong, you hear cranes and port sirens. This is the rhythm of Oxagon, the rhythm of logistics and industry. Workers and engineers move toward the production halls. Here the facilities Saudi Arabia calls factories of the future are meant to operate. In theory, there are no smoking chimneys and no clamor of traditional machines. Instead, there are production lines powered by renewable energy, robots assembling components, laboratories working on AI, biotechnology, and new materials. It is meant to be industry without dirt. The oxymoron Saudis are trying to make real. At the center of Oxagon lies the port. Life here never sleeps. Container ships arrive and depart constantly, every movement controlled by AI systems. Logistics is meant to be perfect. No delays, no errors, everything synchronized. If Dubai boasts of Jebel Ali, the region's largest port, Oxagon aims to be its successor, faster, cleaner, smarter. But daily life in Oxagon is not only work. Saudi Arabia wants this floating factory to also serve as a living space for specialists. Beside halls and labs, there will be neighborhoods for engineers, schools for their children, hospitals, and cultural centers. The vision promises a place where workers don't have to choose between career and family. Everything will be within reach on a platform drifting on the sea. And here the question arises. What does everyday life in such a place feel like? Imagine walking through Oxagon. You don't walk through a park or along a street. You walk on a seafront promenade between industrial halls and office towers. In the background, you hear waves, but also the sound of work. On one side, the sea and the sunset. On the other, the neon glow of laboratories working around the clock. Abdul Rahman imagines it as a paradise for specialists. It will be the best place to work, the most advanced labs, the cleanest factories, access to the sea. You can build a career here that you can't build anywhere else. Aisha hesitates. But do I really want my children to grow up on an industrial platform? Does living in the shadow of factories, even clean ones, turn people into residents of one giant corporation? Daily life in Oxagon means work, innovation, and the sea. But it also raises the question whether a person can feel at home in a city that is, by design, a factory. Oxagon is meant to be the place where industry and technology meet on the water. Saudis promise it will be the cleanest industrial city in the world. A slogan that sounds beautiful, but to many experts also sounds like an oxymoron. How do you combine a factory with ecology? How do you ensure that a port handling millions of tons of goods causes no noise, no smog, no pollution? The foundation of Oxagon is supposed to be factories of the future. These will not be the industrial halls remembered from Europe or Asia. Instead of chimneys, labs resembling Google campuses. Instead of workers in helmets and roaring machines, robots controlled by AI. Production is to be waste-free, fully automated, and powered by renewable energy. Energy is key. The entire platform is meant to run on solar, wind, and above all, green hydrogen. Saudi Arabia plans to build one of the world's largest hydrogen production facilities in NEOM, making it a fuel of the future. For the world, this is a promise that Saudi Arabia will no longer be associated only with oil, but with clean energy sources. Technology also shapes logistics. The port will be AI-driven, analyzing ship movements, controlling cargo flows, and ensuring safety. In theory, a ship traveling from Asia to Europe could unload and load its goods in Oxagon faster than in Singapore or Rotterdam. Time is money, and Saudi Arabia wants to master its savings. One of the most intriguing features is the R&D district built beside the factories. Here, innovations in biotech, pharmaceuticals, AI, and nanomaterials are meant to emerge. This is not only industry, this is a research hub meant to attract the world's brightest minds. Saudi Arabia wants Oxagon to become what Palo Alto and Mountain View are to Silicon Valley, but behind all this stand questions. Can factories truly be harmless to nature? Can a port avoid polluting the Red Sea? Can Saudi Arabia attract top experts while competing with the US, Europe, and Asia, where scientific freedom is far greater? Abdul Rahman believes, this will be our economic heart, not just oil, hydrogen, technology, innovation. Finally, the world will see that Saudi Arabia is more than a desert. Aisha wonders, but can a factory, even the cleanest one, be a place to live? And does technology that controls everything turn people into extensions of machines? Technology and industry in Oxagon are a promise, a world where factories don't smoke and ports don't roar. But a promise is one thing, reality is another. In the history of humanity, no industry has ever been innocent toward nature. Oxagon may be the first, or it may become another grand illusion. The Red Sea is one of the most precious natural environments on the planet. Coral reefs stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Fish shimmer with colors like spilled jewels on the ocean floor. Divers from around the world come here to see a world untouched by mass tourism. For biologists, the Red Sea is a treasure, one of the cleanest and most diverse ecosystems on Earth. And right here, Saudi Arabia plans to build Oxagon, a massive port and floating factory. It is like placing an industrial city on a coral reef. Saudis promise that the project will be fully ecological. The cleanest port in the world, they say. Factories that don't pollute the water, they add. But history teaches that every major industrial venture leaves a mark, and the sea does not forgive mistakes. Building platforms requires enormous foundations that can disrupt currents and damage coral. Every ship entering the port creates waves, noise, and risk of fuel leaks. Every factory, even the cleanest one, generates waste that must be handled somewhere. Saudis insist everything will be purified and controlled, but scientists ask, can you really build industry on the sea without harming the sea? Scale adds another challenge. Oxagon is meant to be one of the world's largest ports, handling millions of containers yearly. Each container means emissions, chemicals, transport. Even if the city itself is carbon neutral, the ships burning fuel to reach it are not. It is like placing a clean island in a dirty ocean, beautiful on maps, unchanged in reality. Abdul Rahman repeats, "It will be an ecological miracle. Will unite industry and nature in harmony." Aisha replies, "But does nature need factories at all? Can coral reefs coexist with a port that never sleeps? If we destroy the Red Sea, we lose something that cannot be replaced." The ecology of Oxagon is both promise and risk. If Saudi Arabia keeps its word, the Red Sea might become an example of coexistence between humanity and nature. If not, Oxagon may become a symbol of human pride destroying one of Earth's most beautiful ecosystems. For the sea, unlike political declarations, knows no compromise. In official presentations, Oxagon looks like a futuristic campus. Young engineers sit in glass labs, programmers test algorithms, managers in suits discuss new investments. Everything smells of modernity and success. But when we ask, who will really live and work in Oxagon, the image becomes less clear. Saudi Arabia presents Oxagon as a destination for global tech elites. Experts from Silicon Valley, Europe, India, and China are meant to come here. Each will receive a modern apartment, access to labs, schools for children, beaches, and cultural centers. A magnet for global talent, a city on water. But Oxagon cannot exist through managers and scientists alone. Factories, ports, logistics, these require thousands of hands. Robots can do much, but not everything. Operators, technicians, cleaners, cooks, truck drivers, port workers will be needed. And here we return to a familiar pattern of the Gulf. Laborers from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and the Philippines. They have built the region's cities for decades. Life in Oxagon may look different for different groups. Tech elites will live in luxurious waterfront apartments, enjoy gyms and yacht clubs. Manual laborers will likely live in collective housing, somewhere at the edge of the platform, away from cameras and glossy brochures. A city meant to symbolize equality may quickly split into zones, one gleaming and one hidden in shadow. This divide raises cultural questions. Can liberal engineers from California, conservative Saudis, Hindu technicians, and Pakistani laborers live together on one platform? Will there be space for women in work and science despite existing cultural restrictions? Abdul Rahman believes in integration. Everyone will have equal opportunities here. Oxagon will be so advanced that divisions won't exist. Everyone will be part of one community. Aisha is skeptical. But divisions already shape our reality. Can luxury apartments and dormitories stand side by side without conflict? Won't Oxagon become a city for the chosen, served by the forgotten? The people of Oxagon will be its greatest test, because neither technology nor factories nor ports decide the future of a city. People do. If a true community forms, Oxagon may become the symbol of a new Saudi Arabia. If not, it will be another space where inequality hides behind mirrored walls and marketing slogans. Oxagon is a project that attracts both enthusiasm and criticism. For some, it proves Saudi Arabia is finally moving beyond oil and investing in the future. For others, it is proof of hubris, an attempt to tame the sea and nature for political PR. Supporters see an innovation lab. This will be the first port of the future. Smokeless, noiseless, fully AI-controlled, logistics experts say. Investors see a tempting vision, fast cargo handling, modern factories, access to global trade routes between Asia and Europe. To them, Oxagon is a new Singapore on the Red Sea. But there is another narrative, the critical one. Environmentalists warn there is no such thing as clean industry. Every port, every factory leaves a footprint. A giant platform on the Red Sea threatens one of the world's most precious ecosystems. Human rights activists add, who will build and maintain Oxagon? Will it once again be migrant workers laboring in harsh conditions, far from cameras? Geopolitics adds another layer. Western countries see Oxagon as Saudi Arabia's attempt to diversify and join the League of Technological Economies. China sees it as a potential Belt and Road ally, a hub strengthening its global trade network. For the United States, Oxagon is a question of influence. Will Saudi Arabia become an ally of new technologies or a competitor? And yet hope persists. Many young Saudis view Oxagon as a symbol of change. It won't just be a port, it will be our economic heart, our place in the global value chain, says Abdul Rahman. Aisha answers, but a heart must beat in the rhythm of nature, not just money. If we poison the sea, there will be no way back. Oxagon inspires emotions on both sides. It may become an icon of a clean, sustainable, technological future. Or it may be remembered as the greatest illusion of the 21st century, proof that humanity reached too far too fast. Everything depends on whether Saudi Arabia can prove its words are not just marketing. If Oxagon succeeds, it could mark a turning point in Middle Eastern history. If it fails, it will be another desert dream ending in collapse. In official brochures, Oxagon is a land of technology. Robots move containers, AI manages production, managers in suits sign contracts. But anyone who knows the Gulf understands what lies behind these images. Cheap labor. It has built the Middle East for decades. Without it, there would be no skyscrapers in Dubai, no stadiums in Qatar, no highways in Riyadh. These are the often mentioned workers from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and the Philippines. They work on contracts, often under harsh conditions, far from their families. Their lives rarely appear in advertisements, yet they form the foundation of the region's dreams. Oxagon will need this workforce as well. A massive port, factories, labs, hotels, and housing districts all require hundreds of thousands of laborers. Who will lay the foundations of platforms on the Red Sea? Who will operate cranes and production belts? Who will clean the labs, cook meals, repair machines? Saudi Arabia and its neighbors use the kafala system, a sponsorship model that often strips workers of autonomy. Passports can go to employers, leaving workers dependent on their approval to return home. Reform efforts exist on paper, but in practice, many migrants remain in the shadows, working long hours and living in modest dormitories unseen by the world. For investors, Oxagon is the greatest factory of the future. But for thousands of South Asian workers, it may simply be another construction site, just one located on water. Instead of apartments in luxury towers, they will see dormitory blocks placed somewhere out of sight. Abdul Rahman says, without these people, nothing would be possible. They are our brothers in work. We need them, and they need us. Aisha replies, but is this really brotherhood? Or an arrangement where some live in luxury, while others live in shadow? Oxagon may look like a technological miracle, but without this silent army, it would be nothing but a rendered image. Here lies a paradox. Saudi Arabia sells a vision of robots and AI running industry, but in reality, human labor from poorer Asian countries will be the foundation. Invisible, uncelebrated, yet absolutely essential. Behind every shining Gulf project stands an army of people whose faces never appear in promotional materials. Oxagon will not be an exception. Oxagon is more than a port and a factory. It is an octagon drawn on the map where trade routes and natural wonders meet. It is a vision of an industrial city that neither smokes nor roars nor pollutes. A vision that sounds miraculous because it has never happened before. For some, Oxagon is a symbol of courage. Proof that Saudi Arabia dares to build the future where others saw only reefs and waves. For others, it is a symbol of hubris, an attempt to bend the sea to political ambition. Some see it as a new Singapore on the Red Sea, others as an experiment destined to harm the ecosystem and end as a monument to ambition. Abdul Rahman looks at Oxagon proudly. This will be our economic heart, showing the world that Saudi Arabia is not just oil, but innovation and technology. Aisha stays cautious. A heart beating too fast can burst, and if it bursts at sea, we lose more than money. Oxagon is therefore a mirror reflecting a larger question. Can industry truly coexist with nature? If the answer is yes, the world enters a new era. If the answer is no, Oxagon will go down in history as a mirage disappearing as quickly as it appeared. But regardless of the outcome, one thing is certain. Saudi Arabia has forced the world to see the Red Sea differently, not just as a trade route or a diving paradise, but as a stage where the future of economics and ecology will clash. And this leads us to the next chapter of the NEOM story. If Oxagon is the heart of industry, Trojena is meant to be the heart of entertainment, a desert mountain ski resort set to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Where snow meets sand, the next part of this extraordinary story begins.